Hi, welcome to What's My Podcast. I'm Jen, and I'm a library specialist for Arapahoe Library District. I love learning, and in the last couple years, I've gravitated toward podcast listening for knowledge and entertainment. I spend a lot of time listening to different content, and I'd love to share some suggestions with you. Today's segment is Native Americans. My first recommendation today is This Land. The 1839 assassination of a Cherokee leader and a 1999 murder case are two crimes that provide the backbone to a 2020 Supreme Court decision that determined the fate of 5 tribes and nearly half the land in Oklahoma. This is a unique case that results in the largest restoration of tribal land in U.S. history. This podcast is hosted by Rebecca Nagel, who is an Oklahoma journalist and a citizen of the Cherokee Nation. This podcast is for you if you like history, true crime, and current affairs. Next is All My Relations, which is hosted by Matika Wilbur, who is of Swinomish and Tulalip descent, and Adrian Keene of the Cherokee Nation. This podcast explores relationships. Each episode explores different topics facing Native American people today. This podcast is for you if you like storytelling and hearing directly from the indigenous people about what's important and significant to them. The Shiloh Museum of Ozark History has put together audio files to create a podcast. The principal purposes of the Shiloh Museum were to acquire and display items of historical value. It aims to promote historical and cultural interests in the Ozark region. This is a storytelling podcast that has many different points of view. Topics range from the Trail of Tears, archaeology, arts, and traditions. This podcast is for you if you like history, Native American culture, and hearing everyday people talk about their culture and family history. Next up is Iroquois History and Legends, a podcast dedicated to the history, culture, and tales of the Haudenosaunee, which is an alliance made up of the Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, Cayuga, Seneca, and Tuscarora people. The 6 nations are not just a relic from the past. Their members continue to influence and contribute to society in the present day. This podcast is for you if you like history and want to understand the influence of a nation's first people that doesn't get mentioned in history books. There will be some episodes in which the hosts read traditional tales and stories. My last recommendation today is Red Man Laughing, which is an Indigenous arts and culture podcast. It is produced by the world's only independent Indigenous media platform called Indian and Cowboy. The creator and host is Ryan McCone, who is part of the Anishinaabe Indigenous people of Canada. This is a comedy podcast that addresses the good, the bad, and the ugly of Indigenous life. This podcast is for you if you like when comedy intersects with serious topics and the hosts keep it real. There are so many podcasts out there, and sometimes it can take time to find what you like. Another great way to browse your podcast app is using keywords. For this category, some good keywords are Native Americans, the Trail of Tears, or type in the name of any Indigenous tribe. All these podcasts can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you like to listen.